Hello, this is Morgan Bannon or SB Prime from Avatar The Last Airbender Online. I'm the site's super moderator, and I am here today with the episode commentary for episode 114, The Fortuneteller. As I mentioned before, this will be this is kind of like the first episode after the kind of original 13 that they had planned. And this is the first really Katang-centric episode, the relationship between Aang and Katara, the romantic relationship. We have many hints before that Aang really likes Katara, and there's been a few hints that Katara really cares about Aang. We're kind of not sure if it's just in a kind of brotherly, familial way, but she definitely cares about him personally. And then we open up, as many episodes in season 1 do, with just a very simple, very day-to-day activities that they're doing. They're just camping out beside a kind of river. Aang makes a kind of replacement necklace for Katara. And again, the great line from Sokka there, completely sarcastic, and it shows it kind of like he's oblivious to the fact that like he likes that Aang likes Katara. And then just this shot here just defines everything you need to know about this episode. It's going to be shipping focused. And then there is this kind of thing that Sokka thinks he just has a bit of a crush on Katara. And again, there it is, Katara saying she only thinks of him as kind of like a friend. Then, and as usual, Sokka is always hungry. Hybrid animals, again, here's the platypus bear. And the very calm man. And I love all the kind of myths, sort of how to run away from a bear that they all say. Run in zigzags, stuff like that. And he just stands there, instantly dodging them, completely confident in the prediction that Aunt Wu gives him. And Aang stands up to the bear, and just that thing, the Aang scares the platypus so much that he lets out an egg. And here Sokka's skepticism comes to the fore in this episode with the Fortuneteller. You know, he can deal with bending, a flying bison, stuff like that for the most part, spirit world. But like Fortuneteller, that sort of thing that can be a psychic, he just is not having any of that. He cannot comprehend that people will kind of live their lives based on this information. And there is this kind of theme throughout the whole episode, like, is Aunt Wu actually, does she have this kind of gift that she can predict the future, people's fortunes? Because we see that she does get some stuff sort of wrong, some of the stuff that Sokka says about her is actually true. But she does get, for the most part, some of the stuff correct. Sokka is so stubborn that he'll just stand out in the rain. Doesn't go under the umbrella. And then the universe, this kind of conflict between the universe and Sokka that kind of goes throughout the series. He says something like it's raining, so he says, oh, it's going to keep raining, and it just stops, just to kind of spite Sokka. And it just makes you kind of love Sokka as a character even more. If you are a fan of Sokka, I highly recommend reading the Lost Adventure series of comics. He is just absolute gold in every single one that he's in. And here we're introduced to the Meng. And this episode is just so shipping focused. We see she completely loves Aang as in the same way that Aang loves Katara. So this is the ship Mang, M-A-N-G. And then we see Sokka. This is a kind of reference to the fake fight in Imprisoned. Katara called Sokka's ears huge, but then Meng mentions Aang's big ears, and Sokka kind of like goes off on that. Little animation error there. So, Katara's not wearing the necklace that Aang made for her. And then Meng is kind of like a romantic at heart. There's these kind of references over to Aang. And then there's a kind of like little backstory of like that she got a prediction that like some guy with big ears would fall in love with her. Just throughout the episodes, there's so many just kind of like references to romance and that. Again, credit to the minor characters of Avatar. You instantly just have this kind of like Meng is just a fun character. Same with Aunt Wu in this episode. And then Sokka just doesn't care about this though. He knows what like they're gonna talk about. And Aang just completely he's heard all the kind of romance talk already from Meng. So he kind of goes to spy on the conversation. And as Sokka predicted, they are kind of talking about kind of like makeup, that sort of stuff, and love. And there's the animation for Aang's face here. Who's she gonna marry? And Aang just kind of perks up. Very powerful bender, and Aang is just like, oh yeah, I'm in. And just the kind of little dance music, and he comes out. Aang kind of tries to tell Sokka the details. While I was in there, and Sokka just doesn't want to have any. And then you're just kind of like, when Aunt Wu says that, oh snap, to kind of Sokka. Most of it's self-inflicted. It's written all over your face. Just like she doesn't even need to read his kind of palms or anything. And then we know that she doesn't know quite yet that Aang's the Avatar, but we all know that Aang's the Avatar. So something big is going to happen in Aang's future, as we know. We know it's like a massive battle to decide the fate of the world. Aunt Wu says this to Aang. She thinks this is massive, that he doesn't know this, but Aang is just like, yeah, love life, please. Credit to Zach Tyler Eisen for the voice acting here. Yeah. And Aang kind of gets disheartened at this. And as we kind of do know, the Katang is not kind of resolved until after the big conflict to save the world. But it is with Katara. And going back to what Aunt Wu was saying to Katara about the... oh no, wait, no, it hasn't happened yet, sorry. Again, Katara doesn't have the necklace on in this episode for a lot of this episode. And here we're introduced to the extent at which this town does believes in Antwu's prediction. And as Sokka kind of rightly points out that, like, why is this town basing their kind of future on a prediction? Like the calm man from earlier on points out, like, they had a tradition of going up to check the volcano, but they don't now because they have a kind of fortune teller in the town. And this is going to be a reference to the episode where Aang kind of discovers this. Katara wanted to know what clouds were made out of, so Aang just jumped off Appa to check, and we found out that it was made of water and air. And there we have it, that those two kids are twins, and as we find out a little detail about them later, which I'll bring up, just remember, those two kids are twins. And here Aang is going to kind of confess that he really likes Katara, but she is kind of obsessed with the kind of fortune-telling aspect of Aunt Wu. As we see, she is completely obsessed. Just wants to know every aspect of her future. And then we have the kind of she wants like the man of her future to be tall, and we know that, like, it is Aang, but and he's not that tall. And then Sokka just has a kind of vendetta. He just has to prove that he is right, that they are silly to, like, believe in Aunt Wu. And rightly so. Sokka just explodes when the guy. It's what he says is completely true. She tells him, "You're gonna meet the woman you love when you wear these shoes." The guy then proceeds to wear these shoes, like, pretty much for, like, the rest of his life, we presume. So of course he's gonna do it. And there we had the kind of prediction about Katara's future. That she will pass away after the birth of her third great grandchild, which we know that she has at least 3 grandchildren, which means that either one of Tenzin's kids, she lives really long, one of Tenzin's kids has
And
kids, or one of their other
Sokka
2
thinks
children
that,
have kids. Aang really likes Meng, because he knows that Meng likes Aang, showing kind of obliviousness, despite him seeing earlier on that Aang made the necklace for Katara. And just the way, like, how this conversation and Sokka's advice to kind of be oblivious to Meng, like the girl that he wants to impress, just kind of, he does it perfectly on Meng, but he completely fails with Katara because she is just obsessed with her fortunes. And again, people may kind of complain about this episode for it being a complete focus on, like, relationships. Like, pretty much it does nothing for the plot beyond the kind of Katang, but in my opinion, the kind of Katang plot is a massive part of the story. Because they are pretty much our 2 main characters from the kind of main group. So their kind of romantic relationship is very important throughout the series, especially as we know as we kind of go into the Last Airbender Legend of Korra. Given that like the next Avatar, Korra, water Avatar, her airbending teacher is going to be Aang Katara's son Tenzin. And just kind of going off that, we have that Aang's son is named Tenzin, Aang's father figure is Gyatso, the current Dalai Lama, and we know that airbending philosophy is sort of based off kind of Buddhism. The current Dalai Lama is Tenzin Gyatso, I believe, so that's just a really fun reference. And again, just the way the kind of Panda Lily kind of comes throughout the episode. They find them in the volcano, and they note that the volcano is about to erupt despite what Aunt Wu said. But then Aunt Wu sort of, is she wrong? Is she or isn't she wrong in that? Does her kind of fortune take into account that Aang and his friends will stop this from destroying the city? Or was she kind of actually wrong? And there we see once again Katara kind of not believing her brother, despite what happened in Jet. And again, there's no one to vouch for Sokka here, like in that episode Jet. And then the way the whole town pretty much makes fun of Sokka for being a fan of science and reason. It always makes you kind of like hate the villagers of this town as much as you kind of hate the mayor and some of the inhabitants of Chin Village. And then this is just so well done from Jack Desena here on this line. Can your science explain why it rains? And then Jack Desena asks Sokka, yes it can. That's how much the residents of this town do not care about reason and science, that sort of thing. And again, in reference to the clouds, as I mentioned before, Aang knows what clouds are made of, so they can manipulate the clouds. And here's Meng again, and then we've sort of kind of laughed at Meng's failed attempts here, but it's very sincere here once again. Very well done. In that, like, Aang and Meng are both in the same situation, in that they like someone, but that person doesn't seem to kind of like them back. The hair seems so manageable, just great dialogue. And just the way they kind of G each other up here, like giving each other confidence for like the future. I've kind of been stalking you. And then we know that the voice of Meng is Jessie Flower, who will later voice Toph, because Mike and Brian loved her performance as Meng so much that they brought her back for Toph. It kind of had some impact on why they changed Toph from a male character to the kind of young girl that we see. And here's cloud bending. Some people in the Avatar fandom have called the kind of children of Aang Katara kind of cloud babies, in kind of reference to air and water coming together as clouds, which is pretty cute. Again, the animation's very well done here. And it's like it's just face as he has to kind of believe in Aunt Wu for the time being to kind of inform her The clouds are changing. And instantly they believe Aunt Wu because she reads the clouds again. And then Sokka's reason, science comes into play here. And as it was saying about the twins, one is an earthbender, one is not. We assume that their parents are both Earth Kingdom residents, so we may assume that either one or both of their parents are earthbenders. Which sort of gives us an insight into what decides if someone is a bender or not. And you can only assume that if there is a bender involved, that one of their kids will either be that nation bender or a non-bender. But as we know for Aang and Katara, waterbender and airbender, that one of their kids is an airbender, and we do not know yet if the other two... We know that the other two are not airbenders, but we don't know if they're waterbenders or non-benders. It's just sort of start this kind of debate about bending. Is it kind of more spiritual or is it genetics based? And I think Mike and Brian have kind of come out and said it's kind of a mixture of the two. We know that and again, how this episode changes in that it being kind of all fun, all about romance, suddenly into this massive volcano erupting. We see the sheer power of a master airbender, how powerful Aang is as a bender. Again, relating to Aunt Wu's prediction that Katara will marry a powerful bender. And she sees this here in Aang. And this sparks it in her mind that Aang may be the kind of man that she marries in the future. And then just this music and the kind of realization. And she sort of realized that she does sort of like him more than a friend right now, but it's not really explored yet until 202, The Cave of Two Lovers. And then the calm man just kind of trolling Sokka here. Just gets on his nerves so much. Katara realizes that, like, he's gonna kill someone if I don't get him out of here. And then again, the kind of advice from the elderly people in the Avatar universe. You have the power to shape your own destiny. How powerful that would be if kind of Zuko realizes this earlier on. And then Meng ending the episode with the kind of floozy line and just kind of like, oh Meng, you are so awesome. So that has been the commentary for 114. The Fortuneteller. Next is 115, Battle of the Water Tribe. So I'll see you next time for that commentary.